Yeah, so today we're going to talk about three investment vehicles because the topics are a bit short, so I'm going to compress three of them in this one video. And these asset classes or investment vehicles, we'll start with cash and cash equivalents. So what is cash? Cash is simply the actual money that a person owns, and this is a medium that is used for exchange. So you can exchange cash for any other types of goods, and that value that cash gets is from the fact that another person will accept it in exchange for other goods. So you find that most times cash does not have intrinsic value in itself, but the value in cash is placed on it just by the fact that another person will accept it. So the type of cash that you have is the actual coins or paper money, the cash or money that is sitting in your current accounts, any receipts that are deposited, and money orders. When we talk of cash equivalents are things that are close to being cash. So these are instruments that can easily be converted to cash. So these are your fixed deposits that are short term, say less than 3 months. You've got your preferred stocks, the ones that have got a maturity of less than 3 months. You've got commercial paper, money market mutual funds, and treasury bills. Remember when we talked about treasury bills, we said the minimum tenure is like 3 months. So those ones which are for 3 months, they fall under cash equivalents. So when it comes to cash, what strategies can people use? People can buy a foreign currency. Say you can have cash in a dollar account, and if the value of the dollar against the kwacha increases in the future, then the value of the cash that you have is going to increase. And when it comes to just keeping the kwacha or saving the kwacha in either cash form, coin form, or you put it under your mattress and whatnot, you're not going to earn any money from there. It's just going to be that exact amount. If you save the 1,000 kwacha today, it's going to be 1,000 kwacha 15 years from now. And that's why it's better for you to place these investments in cash equivalents. You can be putting this money in a fixed deposit, and even earning 3 to 6% is going to make a big difference over a long period of time. For example, you saving 1,000 in a fixed deposit today, if the rate that you get is 6%, in the next 15 years, that money is going to be about 3,000. So you would have tripled your money after 15 years just by placing in a fixed deposit that gives interest of 6% per annum, and you are compounding that interest. What I mean by compounding is whatever interest you've made in this year, you place it in the deposit for the subsequent year together with the principal, and then that's going to more or less triple your money after 15 years. But if you keep the 1,000 kwacha and put it under your mattress, it's still going to be 1,000 kwacha even after 15 years. So you have to think in terms of, even though it's cash or it's money that I have that I need to use maybe in a short period of time, say 3 months, you're better off you put that money in a short-term investment like a fixed deposit or a treasury bill. That way you're going to earn a bit of interest, and when you need to make the payment, you make your payment, but you would have earned something rather than just keeping the money in your bank accounts. And this can even be used in businesses. You find that sometimes businesses are going to make payments of say $1 million or something within 2 months or 3 months, but they'll keep the cash in their bank account. The company would be having a lot of cash in the bank, but they do not put that in any short-term investment. So you find that when it comes to make the payment, that money will still remain the same cash that they had at the beginning when they're making payment. They wouldn't have earned anything on top of it, which therefore is wasting that resource. They could have put it in a short short-term investment. When they have to make payments, then they liquidate that investment and make the payment. And they could have used that extra cash to even pay for cleaning, for certain supplies in the office. So that's in relation to cash and cash equivalents. So now we move to the next. So these are just examples of cash and cash equivalents, which we have just explained. So we move to the next item, which are commodities. So what is a commodity? A commodity is simply a tangible good that can be bought or sold or exchanged for a product of similar value. We have examples of coal, gold, silver, corn, sugar, and these things that are commodities, it's just things that are generally produced on a day-to-day basis by different companies. So you yourself as an individual, you can produce a commodity, because maize, for example, is a commodity, and this is something that we eat almost every day in this country. And you might think commodities have to be fancy things like gold, silver, oil, and whatnot, when commodities can simply be things that we deal with on a daily basis. So the question is, how can then someone make money dealing in commodities? Commodities, there are different ways that people can make money from commodities. One of them is where you buy a commodity today, or you grow that commodity today and expect that the prices of that commodity in the future will be higher, or you charge a higher price for this commodity on a later date. We have these businesses or individuals who are called briefcase buyers. So what briefcase buyers do is they'll go to these farming areas, say they want to buy soybeans or maize, but they'll buy even before the maize is out of the fields. Some of them buy even as early as before the maize or soybeans is actually planted. They'll go and make a payment to the farmer to say, I want 50 bags of maize or 50 bags of soybeans, and my price is this much. Once the maize is cultivated and it's ready, then this buyer goes and collects that maize and transports it to wherever it is that they are going to sell, and they sell it at a higher price. You're going to find that when it comes to, say, maize production, with the current way things have been, where the prices have been increasing for fertilizer, inputs and whatnot, you find a lot of briefcase buyers have been making money in this sector, in the sense that they'll go when the maize is ready. They avoid the risk of actually growing the maize or the soybeans. If it doesn't rain, then they do not carry that risk of poor rainfall. They go and buy the commodity just when it's ready. So the cost that they incur is mainly they're actually finding the buyers who are going to sell that maize to them and transporting it to a place where they have got their buyers. Those are the costs, but they will usually factor those costs in as they are making that sale. And so that's one way you can make money in commodities. You actually buy the actual commodity and you transport it to another place where you've got buyers who are willing to buy at a higher price. Say if you buy from, say, Chipata, you come and sell in Lusaka, or you take and sell those commodities in Kasumbalesa. Commodities are pretty much anything. It can be cattle, it can be goats, it can be maize. So it's pretty much you just buying, taking it to a place where people will buy at a higher price, or you buy and you keep them in storage. So say the maize, you buy it somewhere April, May, and you keep it. When there is a deficit, say near rain season, October, November, when there is not much maize in circulation, that's when you know that the price would have increased because the supply is lower. That's when you start selling your maize. So that's one way that you can deal in commodities. The other way that you can make money or invest in commodities is through futures. So a future is simply where you agree a price with a seller, and this price is agreed together with the quantity at a later date. So you say, today we are now in September. I want to buy this many bags of maize from you at this price in January, and that price is agreed and it is set. So if the price of maize is going to increase in January, then you who bought using this future, you are going to make money, because you would have bought at a later date on a higher price, but you have paid a fixed price which is lower than what the market price will be in that future. But if the prices in the future reduced, but you had agreed to buy at a higher price, then the seller is going to benefit, because he would have sold at a lower price in the future, but now he or she is selling at a higher price. So that's another way. It's futures. The other one is in exchange traded funds, which are called ETFs. So an exchange traded fund is more of a derivative market. You can buy based on the price of the movement of a commodity. So maybe the movement of gold, or the movement in the prices of copper, for example. You are buying the movements in those commodities without necessarily buying the actual commodity. This applies mainly when you look at even these forex brokers, for example. If you have to trade gold, you find that they'll have gold as a commodity. So when you are trading in gold, you would buy gold, but that does not necessarily mean you have bought the actual gold. You are buying gold, but what you're buying is the prices that are in terms of movements in gold. So if gold prices increase when you already own that gold, then you are going to make money through that increment. So those are what are called ETFs, or they are derivative markets. The other way that you can invest or make money through commodities is by investing or buying shares in companies that deal in commodities. For example, in Zambia, if you buy shares in Zambia Sugar, and the price of sugar increases on the global market, and Zambia Sugar, therefore, performance improves or increases, therefore those shares are going to be of more value, and you're going to get your dividends, and therefore your investment is going to grow in that regard. So that's how you can make money through the issues of investing in companies that deal or trade in commodities. So an example is Zambia Sugar, Zambeef. Those companies deal in commodities. If you invest in them, then you're pretty much investing in commodities. So those are some of the asset classes in terms of commodities, and how an individual can make money trading commodities. The other thing, the third type of asset we'll talk about today, is to do with the alternative type of assets. And these alternative type of assets are things like collectibles, things like art. These items, some of them might have an intrinsic value in themselves, but some of them also do not have an intrinsic value. The value is placed on them based on what someone views the value to be, and is willing to buy these things because they are rare, they are unique, and the rarity and the uniqueness is what gives them that value. And these collectibles could be, for example, what you're looking at right now is the vehicle, the Ford vehicle that Princess Diana used to drive. This vehicle was sold for over 600,000 US dollars. Should have been some weeks back. But if you were to find even a brand new Ford of this same make, this car, you're going to buy it, say, even at less than $20,000. Pretty much even less than $1,000, you can find this car. But because this car is the one that Princess Diana used to drive, therefore there is that value, or that rarity, or that uniqueness that is given to it, and someone therefore is willing to pay $600,000 for it. The other examples have to do with art. Take, for example, the Mona Lisa. this painting, it's worth so much money, but it's because of its rarity and the fact that people place value on it based on how it makes them feel. You can't say the Mona Lisa on its own has an intrinsic value. There's something that it can do for you that gives it that value. Maybe the paper that it's painted on, if you light it up and it burns, then that fire can give you some warmth. But the value that is put on the Mona Lisa is based on the fact that it's rare, the way it makes people feel when they look at it, the painting, the way it's done. There's art to it. So these are types of investments or vehicles which are alternatives. You can buy paintings, you can buy art, you can buy things like collectible cards, you can buy coins. Some people buy stamps, those old stamps we used to put on letters, and because those are now not being produced anymore, they get to have a value. There are auctions for coins, and certain coins have been sold for very high amounts. And an example that we have is in Zambia is the jacket that the president was incarcerated with. This jacket was sold for over 2 million kwacha, and it was bought by a local Zambian who bought this, and this is a businessman. And the jacket itself, if you were to buy it, it's going to cost you less than 200 kwacha, maybe less than 500 kwacha. But this jacket was bought for over 2 million because of the story that was behind this jacket. And I know there are stories to say this is not the actual jacket, but at the end of the day, value has been added on this jacket, and through this auction, this jacket was bought for that much. If this man is to sell this jacket, there's a high probability he might sell it for a higher amount, or it might actually sell for nothing. But the jacket now has that value because it is related to the presidency, to the struggle of Hichilema that led him to become president of the republic. And as a businessman, this man, he capitalized on that, and his brand now has been known even way beyond what the jacket represents. And so this is another value that you get from these alternative investment vehicles. Same as I was mentioning about coins, this coin was sold for $170,000 just because these coins are no longer being produced and they are old coins. So when it comes to these investments in art and in these alternatives, it's mainly about the rarity of something, the uniqueness of it. That is what you should look at if you have to invest in this type of assets. And depending on the value someone can put on it, then well and good, you can make money out of it. But they do not have their own intrinsic value. Therefore, there is a high probability the value of the item might actually be zero, and you might not actually have money out of it. But this is another vehicle that you can look at and be able to make money from it. So those are the 3 items that I needed to share today, and our next topic should be about properties, real estates and whatnot. That one will take a bit more time, so it will have a video on its own. Thank you very much for your time, and have a blessed day.